Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hey guys, so in today's video, we are going to be doing another polling review, but this time with a bit of a twist. We are looking at some of the pollsters with worse reputations. Um, in particular, we're looking at pollsters that are historically biased toward the Republican Party and a pollster that is historically biased to the Democratic Party, and we're going to see where they currently put the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah, so in the previous video, we looked at what most people would consider higher quality pollsters like the New York Times and Fox. And today we're looking at the other pollsters that have also done a review of every other swing state. The only one we're missing now is CNN, but that's a different story. CNN is sort of grouped into, the more mainstream pollsters where they're more accurate on, Democrats' successful years. But Trafalgar and Rasmussen have had a reputation of being right-leaning, meaning that they have been pretty much off to the right, no matter what unless the Republicans have a really good night, then they'll be on the dot. So they're good.
Hmm.
They're good right side boundary sort of. Meanwhile, Morning Consult Bloomberg has been seen for a while as a very low quality pollster because they're very volatile. Their polls are all over the place. Like two polling cycles ago, they had Michigan up like 11 or something for the Democrats
Hmm.
and Wisconsin up 9. I don't even know. And they sort of publish random numbers. So they're still an important data point. They're probably more of like a left side boundary. A really good night for the Democrats might go that way, but their data is a little inconsistent. Anyways, let's dive into it. Right now, let's start with Morning Console.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the map they have right here. Harris, like, pretty much winning in a landslide, more or less. Like, I'd say if the Democrats are picking up North Carolina and getting more than five in PA and Nevada, that's a pretty good night. Um, so I mean, yeah, like I mean, their path is like this path is like pretty clear here of them. Um, showing her sweeping the Rust Belt and then taking North Carolina, as opposed to like Arizona. That I mean, I think that's probably the most interesting thing here. The fact that they have the other states so blue, yet Arizona is still voting for Trump in this situation. I think that's probably the most telling thing. And I feel like we've seen this more generally in polling recently, that Arizona, like there's been a lot of favorable polls for Trump in Arizona lately. And I think this kind of just reflects that.
Yeah, I actually have no clue what's going on in Arizona, like at all. We've been seeing this for a while, and it's sort of weird how, like, I mean, Trump seems to be running away with Arizona, and also let's look at the betting markets here, where Arizona is the most, furthest away state. Um,
Oh,
like what?
wait, hold on. Small
Oh,
correction.
what?
Okay, wait. So no, the morning consult has her up in Arizona by three. I just had to double check.
Oh,
So as a
okay,
mistake, as an error. Okay,
okay.
that makes more sense because I'm like, okay, morning consult has all these states so blue. Like, okay, so that is a bit of an outlier,
Okay,
but
that does
they
add up. That does add up.
okay,
No,
this
but
does
but
make more sense.
yeah,
Okay,
but generally the data does have Arizona very far to the
yes,
right.
that is
Like
true.
it does, the betting market's been shifting, slowly and slowly to the right in Arizona specifically because he's been doing so well in a lot of the polling, like all the mainstream polling has him up in Arizona. She hasn't gotten a single good poll until like very recently. And that's only one poll. But yeah, it's interesting to see how Morning Consult works. I think it's weird how they have Pennsylvania to the right of Michigan and Wisconsin, and then you have, when Pennsylvania is right now generally seen as the worst state for Harris in the Rust Belt, and then you have Nevada D+7. Really hard to visualize that, especially when you have
Hmm.
Arizona, pretty close, and then you have this little Georgia, which they have even. That might signal a bad night for Harrison, Georgia, because obviously I don't think we're going to see the rest of the nation vote like this. So they have North Carolina at D+3, right? D+2. I mean, that's still a good night for Harrison, North Carolina. You would probably expect Georgia to be around there too, but no. So that might be a warning sign for Harrison, Georgia. I don't know. This is a pretty volatile poll, though. we'll see what happens.
Yes,
They're
they
generally
they
very off.
do they do have pretty crazy shifts from poll to poll, I will note. But yeah, I think as a whole though, when I look at morning consult, I usually think, okay, these numbers might be more favorable toward Democrats because there's no shot Harris is winning like Nevada by like 7 points. I think that would be pretty crazy. I don't really imagine that. If
Yeah.
I think a state like that is going to be like extremely, extremely close.
Yeah, Nevada's probably going to shift to the right this cycle, so that
Hmm.
really seems difficult to see. Let's take a look at Rasmussen now. Totally different map here. Very interestingly, they have every Rust Belt state even, and I think this is actually a probably a much more consistent map because you could see this map happening. You probably couldn't see this map happening in its entirety, but you could definitely see every Rust Belt state come down to the wire and Trump do well in the Sun Belt. And that's honestly kind of consistent with a lot of mainstream pollsters at this point. They would probably have this type of scenario play out, actually, which, it's sort of interesting. You have Rasmussen sort of moving towards the median of a lot of these bigger pollsters, actually, if you take a look at the data. Um, you see that Harris's easiest path to victory is still winning, sweeping
Yep.
the Rust Belt straight to 270. I think that's very consistent with a lot of the data, although
Hmm.
there's some there's some indication that she's doing better in North Carolina and she could drop Pennsylvania and then pick up Nevada. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. But yeah, highly interesting with this sort of data. I think that I don't know if this is a right-leaning boundary anymore. I don't think the boundary is going to be that the Rust Belt is completely even. I think Trump honestly has a really good shot at picking up Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, though. Michigan seems a little tough. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I'm not too sure how to feel about this. I will say like the Rust Belt being really close does add up for the most part. At least Wisconsin, at least actually rather PA being really close. I think that's been a trend with recent polling. I think a lot of polls have put PA like practically even. Um, Michigan, I definitely I don't think Michigan's gonna end up. I don't think Trump's gonna end up winning Michigan. I still think Harris is favored at the end of the day there. So. Um, yeah, I don't know. I again, I take Rasmussen with lots of grains of salt. They're pretty clearly a right-leaning group. So, I mean, it does give me some hope in those like in Nevada, for example, that oh, maybe there is a polling area again and Harris could pick that up. Um, but yeah, I mean, and also like I am skeptical with some of these like Minnesota and Virginia in particular. I don't know if like Minnesota going back to a lean margin, I don't really see with Tim Walz on the ticket. I don't really see that happening. And to Virginia's like to like looking at Virginia, I think more polling recently has like other polling has put it in the high single digits as opposed to Rasmussen putting it in the low single digits. So yeah, I don't really trust their reality will happen, but maybe in a best case for Trump or something like that, something like this can occur.
Do you think this is the best case for Trump? I mean,
Okay,
maybe in
not the
like Minnesota,
absolute
Virginia.
best, but
Like, I mean, I could definitely see a better case than dead even in Pennsylvania for Trump. I could see him winning it up to
well,
two.
yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, but I guess maybe Virginia is plausible. Yeah, I agree with you though. Like actually, if you look at the early vote data, it actually looks pretty favorable to Republicans in Virginia. A lot of high early in-person turnout in rural districts, so you might want to take a look at that. I think Virginia will get closer for sure because you look at all the data, and that's actually very interesting. If you look at the low propensity voters in Virginia turning out in the rural districts this cycle because Virginia is one of the states that publishes a lot of early vote data, so you could actually look at that. Uh, but Minnesota, yeah, I don't see it as close. I think Virginia is going to reach the right of Minnesota actually this cycle, which we'll see if that happens. But
Maybe.
yeah, Minnesota, I think it's probably going to be end up being like Harris +6. You have those Survey USA polls that are pretty decent there. We'll see what happens
Yep.
in that state. Finally, we have Trafalgar, who is the only one of these three pollsters that has Trump winning the election. And this is probably what I would say is more of the Trump best case scenario,
Yeah.
where you have Michigan dead even, which is very plausible. And you have Trump winning D+2, D+2, D+2 in the eastern coast of the map, which he needs to win the election. Arizona, they have Arizona at R plus two, very in line with mainstream pollsters. Sorry. Very in line with mainstream pollsters there. A lot of them seem to suggest that sort of victory, but Nevada is very interesting. I would not have expected that.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, Trafalgar. I mean, I talk about this a lot. Trafalgar's kind of been my gauge for a while in terms of how the maximum far right an election can be. Like they were, I think, pretty much in every election cycle that I've seen since like 2018, Trafalgar has consistently been off to the right in some way. Even in 2020, when like 95% of pollsters are missing miles to the left. They somehow still got like areas like Pennsylvania, for example. They still got them off to the right. They had Trump winning those states in 2020 when he did not. So when I see Trafalgar polls, I usually assume that maybe the result might is likely to be is more likely than not to be left of those. So I don't know. When I see Mi Michigan even here and Nevada up, I think, maybe Harris does have a chance in these states. I mean, we both think she's favored in Michigan, so that adds up uh, in this lens. And all, I mean, I don't know. I just think the results for the most part make sense. I think the Nevada result, going back to that, is a bit surprising considering, you and I were both considering that, this state looks like it's going to move right relative to 2020. But I'm not going to lie. In recent polling, Harris has been doing pretty decent in Nevada. Like I mean, with the Trafalgar poll, the right-leaning Trafalgar poll being a prime example. So yeah, I find that interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even New York Times is Nevada at R plus two right
Up to
now,
yeah, you're
which
right.
we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. This does look like a best case for Trump minus Nevada. I think definitely in a best case, Trump would take Nevada.
Yes, yes.
But however, the rest of the map looks very consistent. Rasmussen, a slightly worse scenario for Trump, but still very, very consistent. Morning consult, not very consistent. But, probably the result is going to end up somewhere in the middle of these two, Trafalgar and Morning consult.
Yeah,
Rasmussen honestly could have it on the dot here.
they could
They
actually. Yeah.
they honestly could have it on the dot. This map looks really solid, actually. If this reality happens, Harris at 270, sweeping the Rust Bowl. Honestly, that's probably the most likely scenario in general right now, is that Harris wins at exactly 270, which is going to be actually crazy if that happens. If she wins by one electoral vote, but. Uh,
They
yeah, let's
could.
let's take a let's take a look at this map. Yeah, she'll have that Republican state senator from Nebraska to think if that happens. We'll look into that for sure. Looking at the betting odds right now. This is basically confirms sort of this reality in the middle of these two, right? You have Nevada, slight Harris favorite. Trump was leading in Nevada for a while, but she has gotten some good data recently, so she's
Yeah.
taken the lead there. Arizona, like we covered, Trump seems to be running away with it almost as much as Harris is running away with Michigan. They're about the same. When you get to 65% or so, that starts to look pretty solid. And Arizona has gotten to that 65% mark where you'd probably start to categorize that as he's probably leading there outside of, the realm of uncertainty. And then you look at Georgia, solid 60% for Trump. Trump seems to be better in Georgia in a lot of the polling data. And Harris is probably going to do slightly worse than Biden at this point. Although we don't know. It's still in the realm of uncertainty. North Carolina, of course, Harris seems to be making a big play for North Carolina.
Yep.
The Mark Robinson scandal, North Carolina's going to definitely hurt Trump there, probably by not that much as if Trump had a scandal, it hurt Mark Robinson. But I don't know how much I believe in reverse coattails. They might exist. North Carolina might do worse for Trump, but he's
I mean,
still
at the very
favored.
least, she'll have ads to run with Trump
True,
standing next
true.
to a guy who called himself a Nazi. So,
Yeah, that's true. And, I think Trump's still the favorite there, and it's reflected, but probably only a slight favorite at this point. Definitely less than Arizona, although I'd probably put North Carolina and Georgia around the same level,
hmm
favoring Trump. And then you have the Rust Belt, which is, again, like I said, the best path for Harris. You have Pennsylvania, which is definitely a toss-up. I wouldn't put much stock in the betting odds here, in terms of who's leading until it gets to 55, 60%, because I think the election's going to rest on Pennsylvania for
Yeah.
sure. You have Wisconsin here, which is an alternate path for Trump. If he picks up everything else, he can just win Wisconsin. But Harris seems to be leading there, and obviously touch on Michigan. In terms of Wisconsin, like not many people really know because of how bad polling has been in Wisconsin. But it seems to me that Harris is at least slightly leading there, although we don't really know. So everything checks out. Harris's slight favorite checks out, although this is basically a coin flip at this point, 51 to 49. Predicted, I think, as Harris like 54 or something. But yeah,
Hmm.
pretty standard. I think we did a good job analyzing all these. And hey, it's almost October, which is crazy. I mean, I know you already got your mail-in ballot.
Yes, I did.
That's very crazy news that I really don't think that ballot should go out this early, but that's another story. You have your ballot, so
Hey,
voting is really
they
happening.
say like the U.S. Postal Service said they might have some problems with mail-in ballots, so I figured I'd rather get it, sooner rather than later,
Sure.
so I don't get
We
denied my
do.
vote. You know what I'm
We
saying?
do. Yeah, yeah, that's not good. We do encourage all our viewers, regardless of their party, to go register to vote. If the deadline
Yes.
hasn't passed in your state, it's probably coming up. So go register before it's too late. Go vote. Not only is there a presidential election, but there's Senate seats up, there's governor seats up, there's House seats up everywhere. There's local elections, which arguably are more important than who wins the presidency. I mean, your local mayoral
Yep.
election is probably going to have a bigger impact on your life. So go vote for that. Do your research. Vote your heart, vote your brain, do whatever you need, but make sure to vote because if you don't vote, you shouldn't complain about the country because it's going to change something if you voted. Anyways, make sure to register and vote. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Morning Consult, Rasmussen, and Trafalgar polling groups. And subscribe to the channel because, like I said, it's almost October, and you know what that means. There's going to be a prediction video up in the span of 4 days because that's when
Soon,
October
soon.
1st comes. And it's going to be really, really tight. As you know, it's basically a coin flip right now. So, yeah. All right. Subscribe, like the video, share the video with your family and friends. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.